DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin with DreAllDay.com. I'm going to talk about the value and the value of and necessity for standard operating procedures and basic principles that we need in our world today. And I talked about this in the last video that, I guess from when y'all was seeing this, when I was doing a live. And I was just talking about current events. One of the things I talked about is that law of entropy. I think I might have said it was the fourth law, but it's actually the second law of thermodynamics. I just looked it up to make sure I'm correct on that. But the second law of thermodynamics is the law of entropy. And the law states that over time, any organism, the amount of chaos within it will increase over time in a very simplified level. But the whole concept of entropy, which is chaos, is basically what happens when there are no systems, when there are no rules in place. And everybody knows what this looks like and it feels like. The example that I like to use is you're in school, and I'm talking like not like college or high school, but let's say elementary school. The teacher's not there that day. Everybody knows it's playtime. Like, we could get away with doing stuff that we can't get away with on a normal day because, you know, the regular teacher is not going to let us do that stuff. But the substitute, you know, we can mess around and act a fool when there's a substitute teacher. That's what the law of entropy is telling us, is that when there is no system or there are no checks and balances in place, then things go out of control. And where this is happening, this is not just about, you know, it is in your day-to-day life or in your work or stuff like that, but this is kind of stuff they're trying to introduce this. People are trying to introduce this into our everyday, like our whole world right now. And the thing that just recently happened that many of you probably know about is this woman, Judge Jackson Brown. She is this black woman that Joe Biden said he was going to bring a black woman to be in the Supreme Court. She's in her hearings, at least as of this recording, she's in her hearings, but she's probably going to get on to the Supreme Court. I mean, y'all know how this stuff goes. All of this stuff is just, I ain't going to say necessarily it's for show, but essentially it becomes for show. It's not like she's not going to get voted on. She's going to get appointed and approved and all of that. She's going to be on the Supreme Court. And they asked her, well, there was one woman who asked her, can you give a definition of what a woman is? And Judge Jackson Brown, she feigned ignorance and said, well, I can't answer the question. I cannot tell you what a woman is. She said, I can't answer in this context because I'm not a biologist. That was her actual words that came out of her mouth. Now, this is a woman who's going to be a judge. This is a woman who also, I'm asserting that she's a woman, even though she apparently doesn't know what a woman is. We can get to that in a minute. Even though the reason that she is being nominated by President Biden is because she's a woman and because she's black, and she's saying she doesn't know what a woman is. Now, let's be clear. Does Judge Jackson Brown know what a woman is? Of course she does. Does she have a definition of what a woman is? If me and her were sitting in this vehicle right now and I just say, give me a definition of what's a woman, could she answer the question? Of course she can answer the question. Why did she pretend to not know what was going on when she got asked that question? The reason why she pretended not to know what was going on is specifically based around the context of the way the question was asked. So if any of y'all who didn't see the clip, look it up. If you're watching this on YouTube or whatever platform you're watching this on, you can find the video when this woman asked the question. Because the woman who asked the question, I believe it was a Republican senator, a white female, asked her the question, and she framed it by talking about this whole Leah Thomas situation, which is that man, Matthew, who decided to become a woman, Leah, and got on the swim team at UPenn and is beating all the swimmers in swimming. And she framed the question around that, like, yo, this Leah Thomas just beat all these women in swimming and took opportunities away from females. So with that in mind, Judge Jackson Brown, what is your definition of a woman? So basically, she was put in a position to corner her on what is your definition of a woman so that she can be held to that definition if and when she takes her place on the Supreme Court. So the way the question was worded, it put Judge Jackson Brown in a position where she didn't want to, basically she didn't want to get herself boxed into that because she is more on the leftist side of things. I think that's fair to say because, I mean, Joe Biden himself is the one who appointed her. So she didn't want to say what a woman is because by not committing to a definition of a woman, now, once she gets on the Supreme Court, which she will, if a case like this, because this is going to happen, there is going to be a case, excuse me, where this whole thing of a man decides that he's a woman, and it might end up in whether it's in sports, whether it's in employment, whether it's something else that goes on, some type of discrimination case. Something's going to happen where there's going to become a court case. Somebody's going to get sued. Somebody's going to go to court. Somebody's going to call a lawyer, and this is going to become a Supreme Court case over what actually is a woman and what actually is not a woman, what qualifies and what doesn't. And this case is going to make its way to the Supreme Court. Judge Jackson Brown, probably smart enough to foresee this, or at least she was coached by somebody smart enough to foresee this. Do not commit to what a woman is, just so you got enough wiggle room that if and when we want to say that a man, let's say me, I decide one day that I'm a woman, and I decide tomorrow that I'm a woman, and now I want to go play in the WNBA, or I want to play in a women's tennis tour, or I want to use the women's bathrooms, or I want to go join a club that's allegedly only for females, but now I say, hey, I'm a female, even though I still have a penis. That, all right, somebody's going to challenge this. This is going to get challenged in court. It's going to become a thing. And then there's going to be this, it's going to be basically a landmark court case. So just like you got Roe v. Wade, you got Brown versus the Board of Education, those cases that became landmark cases and basically set precedent for everybody else. This is what's accepted and this is what's not. That's going to happen when it comes to this what's a woman, what's a man thing. So Judge Jackson Brown, on a straight strategic level, she actually played this the right way. On a strategic level, she played it the right way. Now, on a rational, logical level, just thinking like a normal, everyday human being level, of course, if you're watching this, and I saw it, most of you who saw this probably are like, well, what the hell was that? This woman is an educated woman, smart woman. She's a judge. I mean, she's no fool. She got nominated to be on the Supreme Court, which is one of the most prestigious jobs you can hold in American government. And she's saying she doesn't know what a woman is, or she pretended to not know what a woman is. All right, all of this is because there's no operating procedures. And basically what is happening in society right now is people are trying to eliminate operating procedures. All right, so now we don't know what a man or woman is. We don't know what constitutes right from wrong. We don't know left from right, up from down. And this is the very point that I'm making, is that when we eliminate these operating procedures, the result is chaos. We get chaos. If we don't know what a boy or a girl is, a man or a woman is, those of you who are watching this, if you have a daughter or a son, let's say your son decides that he's a daughter and he wants to go play girls sports, you're going to sit there and tell your son, okay, it's okay for you to go get on the girls team? If you have a daughter right now and some boy at her school decides that he's a girl, he wants to get on the girls team, and now he's kicking your daughter's ass in that sport, are you going to stand by and just let that happen? The point is, because we have these prestigious people with prominent roles like the Supreme Court now saying they don't know what a male or a female is, or a man or a woman is, whatever language you want to use, and they're going to change that up as well. Now you introduce all of this chaos, you introduce all of this entropy, and this just turns everything out of control. So now there will be, it basically goes to a situation where you're like elementary school back in the day, where there's no teacher in class, which means there are no rules. We don't have to abide by anything. Everybody can just do whatever they want to do, and there are no rules. So there's no such thing as a man or a woman. There's no such thing as, we can't say who can have a baby and who can't. There was this woman that I had a brief exchange with not too long ago. This was months ago. And the conversation was around the concept of giving birth and babies. And this woman used the phrase birthing person. Birthing person. Instead of just saying a woman, she said birthing person. Because this is what's happening right now. It's not everybody doing it, of course. There's a select piece of society, select number of people in society who are doing this, where they're removing the operating procedures, they're removing the standards, they're removing the basic understandings that we've all had all of this time, and introducing as much chaos as possible and as much questioning as possible into the systems, so that since there are no rules, now we can just do whatever. And while this might seem fun, and it is usually fun for a short period of time, Over time, when there are no operating procedures, no processes, no discipline, what happens over time? You get a whole lot of chaos, and you have too much chaos over an extended period of time. Usually it doesn't end up in a good space for anybody. So I want all y'all to keep that in mind as, you know, as we move forward as a society, as a whole, in the entire world, especially in the United States of America. If you can see the ridiculousness of this, or see that it might be leading somewhere bad, I would suggest that you just look at it. Just take a look at it. I'm not telling you need to go start a YouTube, or you need to go say anything or anything like that, because I'm not a type person who's going to tell you, oh, well, if you're not saying anything, you're wrong. Like, a lot of people said that in 2020, right? When the whole summer of social justice, well, if you're not speaking up against it, that means you're for it. That's bullshit. I don't agree with that. And if you don't want to say anything, you don't have to say anything. But what I do suggest you do is look at it and understand what's going on. So if and when you do need to say something, you actually know what you're talking about, and you have some basis upon which to base your statements, whatever you do say, if you decide to say something. I'm not saying that you have to, but if you do, at least know what you're talking about at that point. So with all that said, just keep in mind that chaos, they're trying to bring that chaos into this world, and you need to understand what's coming, so then at least you're ready for it, worst case scenario. So all that said, 2 things for you to do. Number 1, text me so you get my daily motivation text. My number's 305-384-6894. I send out that daily motivation every day for free to everybody in my text community. And number 2, join me at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you get access to all my other stuff. So all my courses, my monthly bulletproof bulletin that I send out physically in your mailbox every month, my bulletproof mastermind, which is my group coaching program, and if you want to work with me one-on-one, that's my 3rd-day mastermind. All the information for all of that is right there at that page, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link and that phone number to get my daily motivation down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre all